I'm Emily.
And I'm Chelsea. And this is...
Mom Needs a Minute.
Oh gosh, look at that.
We'll get there eventually.
We only get so many.
We'll get there. All right, Chelsea, why do you need a break this week?
I don't have my boy again until Sunday.
Yeah, that stinks.
Yeah, it does. Even though like all week long I've been overwhelmed and overstimulated, where you'd think that him not being home would be like a positive thing, but it's not.
Yeah, no, I can't imagine.
No,
I'm always in awe by like single parents, especially when they have to split time like that.
Yeah, it's not fun.
I cannot imagine I can't imagine.
No, it's not. I had another thing too, though. Of course, I forgot it, and I had it like in my head all day too, and I was like planning it out.
I'm gonna say it.
Yeah, and then
it's gone.
I don't know. I know that being overstimulated and overwhelmed was definitely another part of it, but I don't remember the rest of it was.
Yeah, I believe that though.
Yeah. Okay. What do you?
And you get. Oh, why do I?
Yeah.
Moving and unpacking, and now that we live out of town, and all the farmers are in their fields all of a sudden, the allergies are kicking my butt.
How's that farm life going?
It's fine. I've always had allergies. They're just worse this year.
Yeah, because everything's getting kicked up.
Yep, and they just get worse and worse every single year, it seems like, as I get older.
Old age is fun.
I know. It's gonna kick my ass one day. That's about all I have, though, really. I just have to unpack still a million things. And Mav's been sick.
Yeah, there's that. I feel like when you move, you're never done unpacking. Like, for some reason, a box just randomly shows up one day, and you're like...
Yeah, like when we were moving out to come here, we found boxes in the basement, like shoved on a shelf that we hadn't even opened yet from when we moved into that last house 9 years ago.
Exactly.
So, yeah, now I just want to have everything kind of resettled in, and so I'm not trying to search for everything constantly.
Yeah.
But we're getting there. Slowly but surely.
Yeah, it takes a while.
Yeah, it does.
It's a good thing that it's going to be summer soon, so you're not like,
stuck constantly.
Yeah, stuck in the house. And it's like almost past seasonal depression time.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
The sun is starting to come up a little earlier. It's set a little later.
Yeah. And
it's 8 o'clock and I can still see the road.
Right? And it's warm out.
Yeah. It was nice today.
Yeah, it was
I went
really
to
nice.
Walmart and bought some like bulbs for my garden.
Oh, yeah, because you could like get a real garden.
I know, I can get a whole real big one now.
Look at you.
On top of my massive raspberry patch.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no.
Fresh raspberries are so good.
Oh, I'm not complaining. I'm just saying that's the only thing that's out here. That's like growing, unless there's more like in the trees and stuff.
Probably. I feel like they just like somehow go everywhere.
Yeah. And I'm sure once we like walk through our little forest, we'll probably find some more stuff back there, but we haven't had a chance to because like the whole week we were here last week, it was just raining the entire time.
Yeah, it was.
So we couldn't really get outside to search or like look at what's back there and any of that stuff. So I'm sure we'll find more later. I'm really
Probably.
excited to go searching. I'm excited to go searching through back there because I want to see what like is growing like wild back there.
I suppose,
It's like,
yeah.
yeah. So it'll be fun. But yeah, I bought like asparagus, onions, potatoes, garlic, something else, and I can't remember what it was. But I bought a bunch of like bulbs. So I wanted to get flowers, but all the flowers that I could find were on the like toxic or deadly to cats list and dogs list. And so I was like, well, we're not going to do that because like I don't want our cats to get outside and get into it. I don't want the farm cats to get into it. I don't want my dogs to get into it. So we couldn't get any like flowers yet. But I have a list that I have favorited on my phone in my photos.
Your favorites and my favorites are two different
Of
kinds
like
of favorites.
I have like 4 favorites photos. And one is like my Venmo, so if anybody wants to Venmo me, I can just like send it real quick without having to worry about it.
I don't have that. Mine are memes.
I have like 6 of them. One is my Venmo screenshot so that I can send that to people if I need to. One is a recipe for what the boys call daddy's beans, which is just it's just hamburger and beans, but Patrick makes it all the time, and so that's what the boys call it. One is a
I
picture of
hope they don't
Lola,
ever change that.
right?
Of course, there would be a picture of Lola.
One is a picture of Mav and Claire when they're like 2 years old, and they're sitting
Oh,
next to
yeah.
each other looking like twins.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last one that I have in here is a 23-second video of the creepiest mannequin shop I've ever seen in my life that we found when we were walking in Munich. I think I
The
sent it to
fact
you.
that you the fact you favorited that just in case for one day you might need it, it's great.
Because
Love
nobody
that.
believes me. Nobody believes me when I say how fucking creepy it was.
I want to go to the fucking wax house. Is that a thing? The wax museum or something? Is that legitimate?
Yeah. Yeah. Madame Tussauds, I believe is what it's called. There's a bunch of them.
That's
There's
what
a
I
couple
want
of
to do.
them throughout the world.
I don't know.
Absolutely not. That's so fucking creepy. That's like dolls. No, thank you.
But they're wax. There's a movie about that though.
House of Wax.
Oh yeah. That's it.
Is that the one with Paris Hilton in it? I mean, I think you could ask her because I don't think it goes very well for her.
I don't think she's in that, is she?
She is too. Hold on. I know. Hold on.
Yeah, you have to look.
Yeah, she's in it.
What the heck is she? What does she do in it?
I don't know. Chad Michael Murray, Jared Padalecki, John Abrams.
How is that movie even scary with all of them in there?
Honestly, I don't know.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I have no idea.
What the fuck? Here I was fucking scared of that movie.
Right? It freaked
Got
me out the
Paris
first.
hair.
Well, I don't like I don't like dolls, so the
Yeah.
realistic it's just like Uncanny Valley and I hate it.
I guess I haven't seen that movie in a long time though, so it's probably not even scary anymore to me.
Honestly, it's probably funny.
It could be. That's a
Like
good movie to put on my list of movies to watch or force Michael to watch.
like there's a lot of scary movies that I think are funny. So,
Saw. All the Saw movies. Except the newest one.
I haven't seen that. It's been a while since I've seen any of them. I never really got into those ones.
It took us a long time to we wanted to watch all the old ones before we went and watched the new one. And it took us a really long time to get into them because they were just ridiculous and all we just laughed at them because it was just everything was so outdated and just
I always think that like The Sixth Sense is funny. I love that movie. It's one of my favorites actually.
I haven't watched that one in a while either.
Oh, I love that movie. Might have to watch it
See?
later today. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it's not 8:21 p.m.
No, I'd watch it going to sleep. That's one that I can watch, like, to fall asleep to. Yeah, no. Anyways. I always liked Amityville Horror. I always liked that one too. The Conjuring. The Conjuring.
Ooh, yeah. Ooh, what is fuck?
Was that I have no idea. Was that the one you were thinking of?
Oh my god, I had it and then it just like
Paranormal Activity.
left. Oh yeah, we watched all of those because we went and saw, was it The Nun that just came out?
Oh my god.
No. Um
The Wild West of
mm-mm.
whatever
It's
county.
the creepy people in the mountains.
It's a Netflix show. Never mind.
When they're all like inbred.
Oh, sure.
God. Oh, The Hills Have Eyes. I don't know how I forgot that. Because remember when porn used to be just like on the TV at night? You know? There was one named The Hills Have Thighs.
Okay, honestly, porn movie names are the greatest things of all time.
I
They crack
know, but
me up.
it was funnier because my younger cousin, who is only the Kendall's age, goes,
Mm-hmm.
"That's a good one," and
That is a good one.
none of us, to this day, none of us know if he was serious or not.
That's a good
But I
name.
don't know
Some of
how.
them.
They named, yeah, and that's another thing you can watch and like laugh at.
Porn. Oh god, yeah. That doesn't. It's not gonna work for me really. Because I'm like, this is so weird.
I
It's so
know.
funny. And then I
Just
just laugh and
laughing at it.
I'm really uncomfortable.
The acting's terrible.
All right. Do you, now that we're like 15 minutes into this, do you remember what you asked me to do this week? You had a topic suggestion.
Yeah, it has to be scary and not in the 1900s.
Okay, well, I can't promise that it's not. But if it's a haunted house, it's got to be older,
Yeah, it's true.
right?
That's fair. Yeah.
All right, so are you ready for the story? Oh my god. Of the most haunted house in America, or
Fuck
the
yeah.
house the devil built. Are you
Okay.
ready?
Let's do this.
Okay. All right. In the 1860s, a man named Charles Wright Congelier made a humongous fortune in Texas following the Civil War by just preying on the broken economy of the short-lived Confederacy, right? So he's like one of those people down there trying to build it back up. And then he gets extremely wealthy and takes all of this money, and he takes his wife, Lida, and his maid, Essie, north to Pittsburgh, where he decides this is the perfect place to settle down. It's a big industrial city. So they move to Pittsburgh, okay? And Pittsburgh is where this house is at. So upon moving to Pittsburgh, the Congeliers begin building a big, beautiful mansion located at 1129 Ridge Avenue. And then the Congeliers quickly became known for throwing huge, elaborate parties, and Charles quickly became a well-respected member of like the local community, the local business community around there at the time. So a few years after moving to Pittsburgh in 1871, Lida was downstairs calling for the maid. She's calling Essie's name all throughout the house, and Essie is not answering. Right. So Lida's like, okay, like what the hell? Where is she at? So Lida goes looking for her. And as Lida is getting close to Essie's bedroom door, she can hear Charles and Essie in an affair. And so it's unknown whether this affair had been consensual or not because Essie was the maid and presumably black, and so probably not consensual. 1860s,
Yeah.
probably not
No.
consensual, unfortunately. But either way, Lyda gets super duper pissed, right? So yeah, right? So the door's still closed. She didn't say anything. She goes downstairs and she grabs a carving knife and a meat cleaver, walks back up to Essie's room, and waits until they open the door. Then she takes the meat cleaver and hits Charles in the head.
Okay, that's not where I thought it was going.
And then she went after Essie. Once Essie was dead, Lyda went back and stabbed Charles 30 more times. So we're off to a really, really good start to get this brand new house some real bad vibes.
I mean, she had the right to be upset, but that, like,
it's a lot, and it's gonna get worse.
I believe that.
So then, a few days after Lyda had caught Charles and Essie, because nobody had heard from Charles or Lyda, a neighborhood friend comes over, and he wanted to make sure that they were okay. So this unnamed neighbor, he chose to he was like, I don't want, no, thank you, and I don't really blame him. So he knocks on the door, right? And nobody answers. And he's like, okay, that's kind of weird. At least Essie would answer usually, right? The maid would normally answer. And so nobody answers. And so he tries to open the door, right? And it opens. So he peeks in and he's still calling out for Charles and Lyda. And he realizes that the entire house is pitch black. Right? And so he's calling out for Charles, Lyda, or Essie at this point, right? And he is getting no answer. So he's starting to get really nervous now, right? Because whatever. So he actually finally walks into the house to see what the hell is going on, because this is really, really abnormal. So as he is walking out throughout the house and he's calling out to the family here, eventually he hears the rocking chair rocking, and it's squeaking against the hardwood floors, right? Just that regular rocking chair noise, right? Why are you making that face?
Because that's creepy, man.
It's the 1800s. It's hardwood and rocking chairs. They're everywhere.
Well, I know. Doesn't make it less scary.
Okay, well, hold on. So he hears the rocking chair, and it's rocking against the hardwood floor, right? Typical noises. So he walks into the room where he hears this coming from, and he sees Lyda has pushed it so she can look out the one window and watch the snow fall. And he asks, Lyda, is everything okay? And she does not answer him. She just keeps rocking. And as he starts approaching her and getting closer to her, he can hear her humming and singing nursery rhymes extremely quiet, really quietly, right? And she's just staring out the window, rocking, humming nursery rhymes, and just staring, completely catatonic. She does not answer him. When he puts his hand on her shoulder, does not respond, does not move, does not change anything. Her eyes are completely glazed over. She's just rocking and humming and staring. Which, honestly, that's the opening for a freaking horror movie. I'm telling you.
God.
It's fucking horrific. I was telling Patrick this part last night, and he goes, "I don't believe in ghosts, but that house is haunted. Period." And I was like, "Yeah, right." And so then this neighbor, as she's continuing to rock and hum, and he's like getting closer and closer, he's like, "The fuck is going on here?" He notices that she has like a what looks like a baby wrapped up in a blanket. Like she's rocking this baby and like singing to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And but the Congeliers don't have a child. And so this neighbor is like, "What the fuck? Where did this baby come from?" Right? And so he like gently tries to takes the baby away from Lida because he's like, she is unresponsive basically. And this is not their baby. What the I'm just going to take this away from you, right? Which brave man, because I probably would have hightailed it out of there the second I hear the humming.
Oh no! It was the chair. The chair for me.
In the dark too. Remember, it's dark in there. There's no lights on, and it's like snowing out, so it's like.
Actually, you know what? I wouldn't even made it enough in there, like far enough into that house to hear anything. I would be like, "Oh, it's dark in here. Nobody's home.
You know what?
Bye."
This is somebody else's problem. This is not. I don't get paid enough for this.
I'm
Bullshit.
just the neighbor,
right? And so he's picked up this baby, okay? Because he's like, wherever this came from, I need to make sure that the baby at least is okay.
Wherever this came from.
So he opens up the blanket to like look at the baby and make sure it's okay. Yeah, brave dude, right? And out rolls Essie's head.
No!
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck?
Yep. So Lida had been sitting there for days, rocking and holding and humming to the decapitated head of her maid.
That she killed.
Which, yep, it's fucking horrific. Right?
I think she had some regrets
right?
there.
I would say so. Some sort of break at the very least,
I think it's a lot.
I think I fucked up, guys. And then no, I hate it.
Oh.
So then after this happened, children and people that would walk past the house in the following years would say would they throw rocks at the house, even though obviously Lida's not there anymore because the authorities come and they're like, yeah, you gotta go.
You gotta go.
So they're just you gotta go. I don't care where, you can't stay here. So people would throw especially kids, because kids suck, but they'd throw rocks at it, they'd throw sticks at the house, they would try to break in, whatever, right? Children also came up with a really fun song that reminds me of the Lizzie Borden song. And it's an old battle axe wielding her meat axe is all I could find about the lyrics, and I'm like, okay. But yeah, it reminds me a lot of Lizzie Borden and the song that they sing. So, anyways, after this whole incident, the house sat empty for 20 years because nobody wanted to live there after that. Plus, then with everybody kind of trying to break in and throw things at the house and kind of harassing the house in general, nobody wanted to buy it. So, then in 1892, a railroad company bought the house and turned it into small apartments for their workers to stay in.
Okay.
Excuse me. It didn't take long though before the railroad employees started complaining about the house being haunted. Color me shocked, right? They complained of hearing strange noises and their things were moving or going missing when they were the only one in the house. they would hear a woman either constantly sobbing or screaming. They would see figures walking through the house. They could also frequently hear the rocking chair rocking back and forth. When there's not obviously a rocking chair in the house, why would they have one for a bunch of railroad dudes? They also, and in my opinion, most horrifyingly, they would consistently complain about hearing a woman humming or singing nursery rhymes and lullabies. The railroad ended up selling it after only 2 years because none of their employees would stay in the house.
Nah, we're gonna sleep out back in a tent, actually.
You know what? I'd actually rather like to sleep in one of the boxcars, like the boxcar children. That's where I'm sleeping. I'm out of here. I'm not, yeah. And so the railroad went, well, fuck, we're not going to keep this goddamn house, right? So they end up trying to sell it. So it sits empty for another few years. Not nearly as long, but still, at this point, now, really, after all of these stories from the railroad employees start coming out, now really nobody wants it. Nobody wants to listen to a spirit woman humming and crying or screaming.
Rocking chair that doesn't exist.
God, no. Ah! Oh my God, it's so fucking creepy. So it didn't sit for nearly as long. So Dr. Dr. Adolf C. Brunreicher. I'm going to call him Dr. B, though, because Brunreicher is kind of hard to say.
It's long.
Yeah. So he bought the house in 1901. So Dr. B was described by those around him as a recluse that never left his house or socialized with his neighbors. And the neighbors were all getting like really confused by the fact that they had seen him move in to the house, and they had rarely ever seen him like even walking around the outside of the house. And none of them had ever spoken to him because he just was not having it. So they're all there like, what the hell is this dude's deal, right? And
Yeah.
So they're all just kind of watching and waiting to see what is happening here. But they really didn't have to wait that long, because on August 12th, 1901, several neighbors thought they could hear a woman screaming and crying. And so they went outside to investigate and see if anybody outside needed help, right? But before they could find where the screaming woman was like at, all of a sudden, a bright, blinding red light flashed through the house. The windows shattered, and there was glass all over the yards. The sidewalk had cracked, and the surrounding furniture had the surrounding houses had furniture flipped, and things fell off the shelf because of this explosion.
Wow.
So once, I don't know if, well, I have the first responders. I don't know if that's what they were called in 1901, but fire and police.
Something.
Yeah, fire and police, right? So once they get there, the police began asking questions of like the neighbors. What did you see? What did you hear? Who, what is like, their typical questions. And firefighters worked on the house. All of the neighbors were like, hey, we heard screaming. That sounded like a woman. We thought that, so we came outside to check. None of us have seen Dr. B leave the house, though. So we think he's probably still in the house, right? Because if none of them have seen him leave, then stands to reason that he's still in there. So once the firefighters actually enter the home, they found the naked, decomposing body of a young woman lying on one of the beds in the upstairs bedroom. And she had been decapitated.
What?
Upon further investigation, they go down into the basement here, and find his lab. So he is experimenting in his basement now. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in the basement, they found the woman's head, along with the heads of 5 other women. And they also found 5 very poorly dug graves with the other 5 women's bodies.
In the basement?
Thankfully, yeah, I think it was like a dirt basement.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense.
I mean, yeah, so I think it was like a dirt basement so you could dig into the instead of like a concrete or cement.
Yeah.
So, that's what I think. I couldn't find anything like was it maybe it was either that in my head cuz I couldn't find an answer. I either thought it was like a dirt basement or where it has like the storm door, like the cellar door,
Mm-hmm.
and then I thought they could be possibly like right outside that cellar door, like in the ground.
Huh. Yeah, that makes sense.
Those were my 2 theories, but I couldn't find like an actual solid answer.
Hmm.
Um However, thankfully though, the heads and the bodies did match up, so it appears that he did only have the 6 victims and it wasn't like different heads and different bodies and they had to like find more victims, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a really morbid game of cooties.
Yeah.
Do you never play that game?
No.
You get the little cootie body and then you roll the dice and you have to get the head and you have to get its legs and you've never played that?
No.
Oh, it was one of my favorites growing up.
Hmm. Nope. I was just gonna say that it sounds like a puzzle.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Dr. B here is a whole ass puzzle, right?
Oh God.
So, thankfully, theoretically, he does only have these 6 victims, right?
Right.
So, unfortunately, 6 is still 6, but they're not at this moment needing to search for more. So it appeared to them that Dr. B here was attempting to perform experiments on the heads in order to try and keep the heads alive for as long as humanly possible after decapitation.
Did he get an answer?
Well, the house exploded, so I'm going to say no.
Oh. I'm curious though. I'm not gonna do it.
They did.
But I'm more curious, like how long does like each limb?
I've heard that like especially in like the Middle Ages and stuff when they would still use like the guillotine in like Europe. I heard that somebody blinked for as long as they possibly could after being beheaded and it was like 15 seconds.
What the? But why would you want to suffer that long?
Well, I don't know. I don't think you want to, but I don't think the point of beheading somebody is to make it quick and easy for them.
Yeah, that's true.
Might as well do it for the science of it, I suppose. So they did end up finding the head of the woman that was upstairs connected to like a bunch of electrical equipment.
What?
Which is, well, yeah. Yeah, because that's what he was trying to use to keep her head alive.
Oh, so it's like a shock therapy
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. Investigators did determine that this electrical equipment had been the cause of the explosion, though. So, I
Who
mean,
would have
makes sense,
thought?
right?
Yeah.
Right? Let's mess with body parts and all sorts of electricity.
Yeah.
So since nobody saw him leave, everybody assumed that Dr. B was still somewhere in the house, but they were unable to locate his body at all. So it made them think that maybe he managed to escape out like the back in like all the chaos and nobody had seen him. One of the officers at the scene had actually been quoted saying, quote, "He would have been forgotten entirely if it hadn't been for the night of August 12th, 1901.
Okay, though.
Which is honestly kind of sad if you think about it, but yikes, this guy. That happened in 1901, right? The explosion. And nobody could find Dr. B here. In September of 1927, a man was arrested for public intoxication in New York City, and he was like harassing a whole bunch of people, like homeless people that were at like the soup kitchen and stuff. He was harassing all these people, and he was drunk, and so police came in and they were like, "Hey, dude, what you doing here?" Right? And this man claimed to be Dr. Brunreichter. Brunreichter. So police are like, we've been looking for you for like 30 friggin' years nearly at this point. And so they're like, hey, bud, we got some questions, right? So he told the police all about all of these experiments that he had performed in Pittsburgh, because remember, now he's in New York City, along with the locations of more bodies. He was telling them all these stories about these like random sex orgies he would have, demonic possession, satanic rituals that they would perform, torture, murder, all of these things that took place in this house when he was there, right? And they're like, whoa, dude, we have more than we signed on for here with this story. And so they hold him in jail in order to investigate all of these claims, because like, wow. And the newspapers ate this up. You know, they're sitting there writing all these articles about the quote Pittsburgh spook man, which is the most pathetic name I've ever heard, but
that's so lame.
It is, right? If you're going to come up with a name, come up with a good one. My God, I'd be pissed if that was my...
I know. I'd start killing more.
Dr. B here then was... so they're investigating all of Dr. B's claims here. And then he was released after 1 month, with the courts determining that he is not a threat. And more importantly, he is not Dr. B. And he made this whole story up. However...
How do you just...
It's fake it?
Yeah, like it's just such a random situation that you chose to be involved in. You know what I mean?
Well, and especially 30 years later.
Or you could have thought of something different.
26 years later, yeah. It's like, okay. Yeah. So 26 years later, they're like, yeah, this dude is not Dr. B. However, though, once the Dr. B imposter was released from jail, jail staff did notice that he had used his own blood to write, quote, "What Satan hath wrought, let man beware," end quote, on the wall of his cell.
In his own blood?
Mm-hmm.
Ew.
Yep. Right? Regardless, this man is like, whether he's Dr. Brunreichter or not, this man problems. Is something else. Yeah.
Ew.
Right? Okay. So, now, back to 1901, right? So the railroad and Dr. Brunreichter are gone from the house, and it's again vacant. So now the house is gaining a reputation for being haunted and essentially like possessing the people in the house, like Lyda for murdering everybody, like Dr. Brunreichter for all of his not bullshit, right? And then it's like haunting like all of the the employees from the railroad, right? So it's like this house is getting a real rough reputation now. And remember, it's only like 30 years old at this point. this house. So this like history or this like reputation attracted all sorts of people that were interested in like psychic and supernatural phenomena. And so obviously it drew the likes of mediums and like investigators and stuff like that, right? So several different mediums at different times had said they all said that they had experienced flying objects, voices, rocking chair creaking, and quote a fearsome presence within the house. I don't like any of that. I don't want to be around any of that. Okay. Thomas Edison also visited the house because at that time he was attempting to invent a device in which he could speak with the dead.
Did he actually invent it? Was it a thing?
Yeah, it's a real thing. I don't know. I looked it up and because I'd never heard of that before. And he was like, hey, I bet I can get it to work in this house of all the houses. I bet I can get it to work
fair.
Here. Right? Well, I think it was a failed invention, but I mean, obviously it didn't go anywhere, and it certainly isn't as popular as some other of his inventions, like the light bulb. So, no, I don't know that I don't think it was successful, but he went to this house to try and work on this invention. Because he was like, if I'm going to make it work anywhere, the Congelier House is it. One medium named Julia Murray, a witness stated that they saw, quote, multiple objects hurled by unseen hands barely missing their target. So they're like, apparently they saw something throwing things at Julia, the medium here, and like barely missing her. Julia also said that the spirit she was picking up during this visit was, quote, evil and, quote, gruesome. She said that she believed that the spirit quote, had the potential to kill and the power to travel beyond the house.
Well, yeah, I can see that though.
I don't like it.
No, I don't either, but
I don't want it to travel beyond the house. Like, stay where you're at, please. Stay there. If we can avoid you can have that house. Please do not come out here. I don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't like it. It's like, ugh. So, now we have the Lyda and Charles incident. We have the railroad workers bolting and refusing to stay there because of voices and things moving and rocking chair squeaking and humming. We have Dr. B and his decapitated bodies, and we have dozens of mediums and investigators saying this place is fucking evil. This thing is going to hurt somebody more than it already has, right? However, besides all of that, it did not deter the Equitable Gas Company from buying it next.
What the fuck?
And once again, right? And once again, this building was renovated to create small apartments for their Italian immigrant employees.
That doesn't sound good.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't. So, again, almost immediately, the gas company workers began complaining of hearing strange noises, disembodied voices, footsteps, and the rocking chair creaking. I hate this rocking chair.
I know, and it's not even there. You can't even like pick it up and just burn it. It's just
I hate it so much. And the gas company, like the employers, kept telling them that it was probably just the Americans fucking with them, pulling pranks on them because they were mad that they had taken their jobs at the gas company. Which sounds awfully familiar, huh?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's real. Nah. I don't like it. I don't like it. It's the rocking chair, and it's still the humming for me.
It's the
The
chair.
humming and the singing, it's the creepiest.
I don't like.
I'm gonna have I have nightmares about that.
I won't.
I probably won't either, but if I heard it, you better believe
I think.
I'm sleeping in my
I honestly
I'm out.
think the humming and whatever doesn't really bother me, mostly because of what I'd have to deal with at night anyway. So I'm just so used to hearing random shit that makes no
Hi
sense.
Myrtle, what are you doing? I know. Yeah, that's true. Either I hate it. I hate all of it cuz I think if you hear that creaking, just constant like steady rocking and then hearing like rockabye baby.
Stop it.
I'd burn my house down and sleep in my car. I'm fucking out of here.
I don't know if I'd burn the house down.
You would have to.
No.
To get rid of that, yeah, you would.
Yeah, you would, but the house, it may not even just be in the house. It could just be the land. And if you burn your house down and they see that you burned it.
This is the early 1900s. I don't think that they have as much forensic technology as they do today.
I was just trying to think.
Yeah. Okay. So the gas company here, it got real fucked. Okay. They hear the voices, they hear the humming, they hear the noises, they see stuff moving, they hear the chair. They hear all of this, okay? And they are consistently hearing this and consistently complaining about this. So, one night, there were 14 men that were living in the Congelier House at this time for the gas company, right? There's 14 men in there. And they're all sitting in the living room and enjoying pizza, pasta, and wine for dinner, okay? Right?
I'm ready to go.
Mm-hmm. Right? So one of the men get up and he starts gathering a couple plates to take into the kitchen to just start cleaning up a little bit because everybody was kind of done and he was taking his in, and so he just grabbed a couple extra plates or whatever.
Yeah.
And so he grabs these plates and he goes into the kitchen. As he is walking into the kitchen, he turns around and his brother was also working there, and he makes a joke to his brother. And his brother grabs his like last little piece of pizza crust and throws it at him. Right? Just kind of like joking brother stuff,
Yeah.
right? And haha, everybody's good. The 13 men now, right? Because the one is in the kitchen. There's the 13 men in the dining room. The one guy taking some stuff into the kitchen. And they're all back to chit-chatting, goofing around, having a great time. And then the brother that had thrown the pizza crust was like, God, my brother has been in there for a freaking while. Like, what the fuck is he doing in there? Right? And so he gets up to go to the kitchen to check on his brother and see, like, what is going on. Right? And then all of a sudden, the 12 men in the dining room hear just the loudest blood-curdling scream from the second brother, the one that just walked in there. And by the time they all get up and get into the kitchen, they don't see either one of the brothers. But the basement door is open.
Oh, no.
So about half of these men decide they're going to go into the basement to see, like, the fuck is going on. Right? So they see the second brother hanging from an electrical cord that was attached to one of the ceiling joists of the basement. So it'd be the floor of the upstairs, the floor of the upstairs, the ceiling of the basement, right?
Yeah, it's...
Yeah, so he is hanging from that joist by an electrical cord. And directly underneath him, they see the first brother lying on his stomach with a gigantic splintered wooden plank going through him and coming out of his back. So now they've had 2 deaths in about 30 seconds here.
Yeah, and you have no one to blame because they're both dead.
Mm-hmm. And so remember, half of them are on the stairs and half of them are still in the kitchen, right? And so the ones on the stairs start like screaming and freaking out and hollering up to the ones in the kitchen, like, oh my God, we need help, right? And then all of a sudden, the ones on the stairs, every single one of them like reports the same thing. Suddenly, they hear like this loud growl, which is never good. And then they can all feel like they're being pushed against the wall.
Ugh.
And that something runs past them on the stairs. Is that not the creepiest?
Yeah.
A growl, some force pushing me back and then running past me and then slamming the basement door shut behind them in this like cold gust of wind.
Yeah, I am not about an object I can't see pushing me. I don't like being pushed in general. If something I can't see pushes me, peace out.
I'm done. And so, like, still, the basement stair guys are, like, freaking out, and they're hollering and shrieking and whatever, right?
Oh, I forgot they were still on the stairs.
They're still on the... Yeah, they're still on the stairs. So this thing has, like, run past them now and slammed the basement door shut. So now... half of these guys are basically locked in the basement with these 2 dead bodies after hearing a growl and be shoved by this cold wind. And then the other half of them are in the kitchen, like,
confused as
what the
shit.
Fuck? And yeah, and so finally the basement stair guys get upstairs, and they're like, what the fuck? And they're like hollering at the kitchen guys, and they're like, dude, what the fuck? We called for help. It's like that Joe Exotic. I called for help twice and not a fuck you or anything. Right?
Or how
that's what
are
it
you
is.
doing?
Yep, that's what it's like. And so the kitchen guys are like, we literally heard absolutely nothing. The only thing they heard was the door slamming because they could watch it slam. And then they heard another door slam, like, in a different part of the house. And that's it. They didn't hear any of the screaming. They didn't hear them being, like, slammed into a wall or tripping on themselves. They didn't hear asking for help. They didn't hear anything except the basement door slamming shut because they could see it.
I don't like that.
I don't like it either.
Oh.
And the growl, that's demonic.
Yeah.
If it's growling and it has the ability to, like, physically shove you.
Yeah, if it has that force.
And if it has the ability to, like, mute you to other people.
Yeah. Or everything, all the actions and I mean, if people get...
I mean, basement stairs are creaky. Like, especially back then, they're creaky.
Well, yeah, and I mean...
and wooden. You'd hear just even steps on them.
And if somebody was shoved into the wall, you can hear the thud into the wall.
Exactly. And I don't, like, so the fact that they didn't hear anything is horrifying to me. Like, I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
No.
Ugh. I got the chills. So So the police come to investigate these 2 deaths, right? Because, like, regardless of what else is going on, like, the death is actually they actually happened, right? So the police come and they deem that both deaths bizarre freak accidents.
No. Bizarre freak accidents.
Yep.
My sister accidentally driving her cat down the fucking highway and that cat flying out of the car. That was a freak accident. This was not.
That was a freak. Yep. The police called it a complete bizarre
It's because
freak
they didn't
accident.
want to investigate anything in that house. And I don't blame them.
Oh, yeah, probably, because all of these officers. Well, my first thought was these guys are Italian immigrants, so I'm thinking a little bit racism here.
I pushed that out of my head, though. So I forgot they were even. Yeah.
No, that's fine. But then it is. Yeah, so I'm thinking there's a lot of racism going on there. However, these police officers have grown up in this town, I assume. They've heard all of these fucking stories about this house now.
Yeah.
And they're like, I don't want to be in. Nope. Now looks like an accident to me. Sweep it up, mop it up, get them out. Doesn't matter. We're good.
Call their family.
Never mind. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, ooh, I have like goosebumps. It's horror. It's blech. So, the police had determined that the first brother had tripped on like a loose stair tread, and then accidentally and fell and accidentally impaled himself on the like splintered board 2x4 whatever, and that's how the first brother died, right? He tripped and fell and impaled himself like Olaf in Frozen.
I'm just trying to envision how he was like.
Why would he be in the basement if he was taking dishes into the kitchen to clean up?
Oh yeah.
Why would he be in the basement? Why would he be going into the basement?
Why was the other brother down there?
If all he's doing is taking. Well, the other brother went to check on the one.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So he went to check on his brother, and then when he like couldn't find him, all of a sudden like the basement door opens and they hear the scream. Right? He's at the top of the stairs. They hear him scream, and by the time they go from dining room to kitchen,
And then he's dead.
He's already dead. Hanging from the rafters. Yeah. And so then the police had decided that when the second brother here had noticed the first brother being impaled on a fucking shattered piece of wood, that he also slipped and tripped on the same step,
and hung himself.
And managed to get himself hung up in an electrical wire attached to the ceiling.
It's not funny, but
it is the most ridiculous answer for that scenario that I have ever heard in my life.
I mean, I understand making up something completely bullshit so you didn't have to go in there and stay in there.
But
however,
right?
It's like when somebody cheats on somebody. It's an accident. Their dick just
did your dick just slide right on in there? No, it did not.
No, there was definitely effort somewhere.
Yeah. And then the fact that like they're in the dining room, which I assume is connected to the kitchen, as most are.
Yeah.
Especially in those older houses. So it only took them, maybe 30 seconds for all of them to get into that kitchen after hearing that scream? So you're telling me that he walked in there, saw his brother at the bottom of the stairs, tripped on the same stair, caught himself in an electrical wire. Oh my God! Hung himself from the rafters. after screaming, and a dozen men are in that room 30 seconds later, and not and it's and they're both dead already. Like, you have to
I'm
be kidding.
just and
You
the
have to be kidding.
the electrical wires they used then.
Well, first of all, you'd rip them out of the ceiling. You'd probably fall to the floor.
That's what I'm saying. Like, they didn't have any of this extra, like, how do I? They didn't have the stronger stuff like what we do now.
Yeah.
So, like, the electric, I've been in basements that are old.
Well,
There's
and
no
I
way
mean,
you just.
if you think of mine in my old house, yeah, you could get up into the wires in the rafters,
But they're
right?
not gonna stay.
No, if you were to, first of all, how on earth would you get your fucking head up there? Even if the wire is like hanging a little bit, you're still slamming into that fucking thing.
Well, that, and
And
it's like, okay,
and then
if
your
somebody.
body weight is still going to rip it out of the ceiling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's, and it's. If anybody wanted to kill themselves, they're not just gonna fucking grab a electrical wire from the ceiling.
When a dozen men are in the other room and are likely in the same like this room to say rescue you, because theoretically 30 seconds they should have been able to pull him down, right?
Yeah.
And potentially save him, because 30, I mean, I know it doesn't take long, but it does feel like in 30 seconds a dozen men, or half a dozen men, the half a dozen that went downstairs, would have been able to like heft him up and get him out of it and resuscitate him. You know?
You would think so, but then again, you walk in on this scene, what are you gonna do?
I don't know how exactly I would react. I do like to think that I would do everything in my power to get somebody down, though. The dude that's been impaled through the chest,
Gone.
yeah, you don't go out with a 2x4 through your chest coming out of your back and come out of that in a good shape. But I do like to think, I don't know how I would react in this situation. I've never had to deal with it, but I do think that I would try to do everything in my power in order to get that person down and perform or like help them in some way, especially after 30 seconds.
Yeah, I wish I could say that, but I think I'd panic.
Oh, see, no, I'm that like, all right, what do we do? I panic later.
It depends on the situation, but in that situation, I'd be like,
Oh,
there's
no.
nothing we can do for them.
Oh, no.
Let's head out.
Oh, no. I'm definitely one of those people, especially like in a situation like that, when it's, especially if it's not one of my loved ones. I compartmentalize very,
Yeah.
very well. So I would see that as, we're going to have to fix this right now because there's still a chance to fix this. And there's not a chance to fix that one, you know?
I'm the other way though. If it's my family, I act faster and I can react later. In these situations, if I don't know them, I'm like,
See, I think that though,
there's no help in
well, they all
me.
live together. They know each other pretty well.
Yeah, but
I don't
yeah.
know.
I'm just in my
Okay.
yeah, I don't know.
So now these poor gas company workers, right, have been through the worst of all of the shit that this house has dealt out, because they're like, aside from Lida's murder of her husband and his mistress at the very beginning, now they have like 2 more deaths, right? And these ones weren't performed under, theoretically under like like murdered by a person.
What are you saying?
Right.
They did it on purpose.
Okay, well, it was an accident. They tripped on the stairs.
Yeah, they tripped.
Mm-hmm. So, shortly after this incident, on November 14th, 1927, only a few blocks away from the house, some of the gas company employees were working on a natural gas tank where it exploded.
Of course it did. Of course it did.
The Carnegie Science Center explosion is what, Carnegie Science Center is one of the largest natural gas storage facilities in the world, or at least it was at the time. So metal, shrapnel, body parts went flying. In one of the newspapers, because I found like a newspapers.com, I think it was like the New York Times, maybe. I'll have to put it in my sources here when I'm done. Stated that, quote, houses collapsed and chimneys toppled. Brick, broken glass, twisted pieces of steel, and other debris rained on the heads of the dazed and shaken residents who had rushed into the streets from their wrecked homes, believing an earthquake had just visited the city.
I think they would have rather have had an earthquake instead of like an arm, just like
Then a gigantic explosion. Can you imagine just being at home and a gigantic
and
natural
body
gas explosion?
parts.
Absolutely not. But because this was, I don't like it. Yeah, as if this house has just, and these poor gas workers have not been through fucking enough already. Because good God. And because this Carnegie Science Center was one of the largest natural gas storage facilities in the world, this was a massive, massive explosion. Right? Ultimately, the explosion killed between 24 and 28 people. Reports kind of varied as far as the official toll, but it was typically between 24 and 28. And it injured more than 500. Dozens of manufacturing plants and hundreds of homes were destroyed within a nearly 20-mile radius.
Holy shit.
Right? Hold on 2 seconds here. I was looking for something on my computer. So the Congelier House was also destroyed. It was the only house that had been destroyed where no evidence had ever been or could ever be found. And locals said that, quote, the house the devil built was finally sent back to hell.
Okay. Was it though?
And then
yeah, I didn't think so.
After this explosion and everything, the land at 1129 Ridge Avenue was used to create the Route 65 I-279 interchange. But there continuously had been many, many reports of sightings of spirits wandering around, and some have even claimed that they'd be like driving and they'd see like a whole real solid ass house and then it would just disappear.
Wow. Like a ghost mirage.
Right?
Ah!
Right?
That would be so fucking creepy though.
Can you imagine just driving down the highway and then all of a sudden seeing, oh, hey, there's a house right there.
Oh, hey, it's gone.
Oh my God, where'd it go? Yeah, exactly. Like, what on earth? Right? Is that not the creepiest thing?
Oh, I'd be probably checking myself into an institution.
Honestly, with all of this like bullshit from this. Hold on a second. Hi.
I'm confused.
Look who came to join
Oh.
us. Hi, Myrtle.
Meow.
Hi, baby.
We'd gone.
And she's gone. Do you see why I stopped so quickly, though? She's back.
Wow. Basement Kitty's no longer Basement Kitty.
We don't open the basement door for her anymore, so she just cries all the time.
But she knows where it is.
Yep. She'll sit by that door and, like, holler at us until we, like, open it, but we're not gonna.
Myrtle.
Okay, so I'm almost done. I promise.
Okay.
I told you this one was gonna be a little bit shorter. So
I wasn't worried.
okay, so now the house has been destroyed. Blah blah blah. Whatever. Right? After all of the nightmares for 60 to 1927. What's that? Like 80 years? Right? No.
Sure.
60 years. 60 to 1900. It's 40.
I'm not going to
27.
math check you.
It's like 70 years. Okay, it's like 70 years. Okay, so from the time this house was built by Charles Congelier. Good Lord, Congelier. To the time that this gas explosion demolished it in 1927 was like 70 years. And all of these things, all of these spooky hauntings, all of these murders, all of have happened on this land in 70 years, which is not a ton of time at all.
No.
No. But the Congelier Mansion never existed.
Shut the fuck up!
Researchers Stephanie Hoover and Troy Taylor debunked the entire thing. There are no records of anyone named Charles Wright Congelier or Lida Congelier, either in Pittsburgh or Texas at the time when they would have been living in either space. There's also no police reports or news articles about Lida's murders. There is no proof that a railroad line ever owned the property or used it for the housing their workers. Dr. Adolf Brunreichter never existed. And there are no police reports or newspaper articles regarding him, the house exploding, the dead decapitated women, and no reference to the Pittsburgh Spook Man. What is fact, though, the first house that was recorded on that land was built in the 1880s, not the 60s. But it would have been a typical row house built for like working class families, and certainly not a mansion. The gas company did have several properties in the neighborhood at the time that they were using for housing employees, and but there were no deaths reported during this time. In 1929, a Congelier family did in fact live, or a data entry collection city directory from 1929 shows that the Congelier family did live at 1129 Ridge Avenue. John and Louise Congelier lived there, as well as Mary. I'm not 100% sure about their relation. This is all absolute fact, though. The gas tank in 1927 really did explode. That's true. And it did kill and injure between 24 and 28 and injure hundreds of people and leave thousands homeless. So all of that is true. The house was not destroyed in that explosion. However, Mary, one of the windows in the house did like shatter when that exploded. And Mary was hit by several like shards of glass that hit a major artery in her leg, and she bled out on her way to the hospital. Yep. She did, and she died on her way to the hospital. Mary left behind 5 children who were then raised by relatives who continued to live in the house until the 1950s. And then the house was destroyed, and in fact, it stayed fully intact aside from the few windows that burst at the explosion until they came through and demolished it to make room for the new highway.
You just lied to me that entire time. You made up a whole story.
The city of Pittsburgh literally leans into this whole thing. It is on their freaking web. Like, there is a whole, like, basically the Explore Pittsburgh website or whatever. It's on there. Yeah, they lean right into this whole story.
I hated it. Ah! I'm never going to Pittsburgh.
It was a good story, wasn't it?
Until the end.
Do you see why I was so excited to tell it to you?
I'm questioning the honesty in our friendship now.
I thought it was really interesting, though, that it's the family that did live there with the one death that is documented is still named Congelier.
Yeah. I mean, and then they literally just live on this like giant ass lie in the entire fucking town.
Yep. They tell people all the time. Like, everybody apparently there seems to really, really lean into it.
I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do to get known.
I don't think Pittsburgh needs much more help, man. There was one more thing that I wanted to.
God damn, though. Here. They should have made a movie about that.
Serious.
And then, like, at the end, just have, like, a giant, like, fucking turn of events.
Mm-hmm. When the first time I Googled this house, okay, like to start researching for this, I was like seeing only maybe 2 or 3 pictures, like on Google Images, like they were all, like it was a repeating 2 or 3 different images, right? And I was like, these don't look like the same fucking house. And I was like, maybe they're just coming at it at a different angle or what. Like, I was like, these don't look like the same house. And so, and I'll send all of these to you because this is really fucking funny to me. Also, they all look like much more modern photos. And since the house was supposedly destroyed in 1927, it would have been a much older photo if there were one. So I'll send all of these to you with like links and stuff when we're done here. But so there's one photo. Hold on. Let me see if I can pull up these up here and figure out which one is which here. Ooh. That's not what I wanted to do.
That's sketchy.
So I'll find them and send them to you here. So one of the more popular photos is a photo of Franklin Castle, or also known as the Tiedemann House in Cleveland, Ohio. One is the Keating House in... This can't be a real name. Indooroopilly.
That's a name.
It's like it's like indoor, INDOOROOPILLY. Indooroopilly?
Fuck, I don't know.
If I am pronouncing that wrong, I apologize so much. It's a suburb of Brisbane.
Oh, it's a place
in Australia. Yeah, it's the city. Yeah, it's a suburb. And then there is one that is an abandoned hotel in Zippendorf, which is in Germany. So there's 3 main pictures that you see on Google.
And only 3.
Actually, Google it real quick.
I don't wanna.
Google it really
I'm
quick.
mad still. Oh!
Congelier House.
I almost lost my laptop.
Congelier. Congelier. Google it. And then go to images. Okay. You there?
No. Yeah.
So this one here, this red one, that's the one in Australia.
Yeah.
That's the one in Brisbane. Or outside of Brisbane.
So they just fucking put these pictures on the Google and rolled with it?
Yep, sure did. This one, yep, sure did. Because, like, look, see, okay. This says the story behind the Congelier House, right? This house. This one says the Congelier House. Wait, I want the other one first. I want this one. The Legend of Congelier Mansion. That's not the same house. That's not that might be one of the Congeliers that actually
none of these
live.
are the same.
That's not the same house as that first one, right? This one is Franklin Castle or Tiedemann House in Cleveland, Ohio. And then this one, which is also the Congelier House, is an abandoned hotel in Zippendorf.
What the
in
fuck?
Germany.
I'm on the TikTok now. Heck yeah. I don't like it still. News story.
Do you have any requests for next week?
No, but I'll let you do an alien one if you want to.
Yes. Aliens it is.
Not gonna pretend to be happy about it.
Shut up.
I'll just be...
I know exactly what I want to do.
I'm sure you do.
I have to figure out what it's called, but I know exactly what I want to do.
I think it's called Signs.
Nah.
Well, that's my knowledge of aliens.
Well, yeah. Okay. Well, that was my story for tonight, and I hope you liked it.
Yeah. Still. Got played. We got played, baby kitty.
Well, for the longest time, honestly, I believed that it was real.
I was believing it the entire time.
It means I did a good job telling my story.
I need a break from our friendship.
And when I realized that it was like a urban legend, I went, and Patrick's like, "Are you okay?" And I was like,
No.
oh my god, this is so much better than I thought. Chelsea's gonna be so mad.
It's not right. Oh shoot.
And I was like, I've already researched this whole thing up until the fact that it turns into an urban legend. I'm not starting over right now. We're rolling with it.
You didn't even know.
Nope. Nope. And I was like, we're rolling with this. We're rolling with I was like, oh god, this isn't even real. Should I switch? Should I change my story? And I was like, I've already spent hours researching this. Absolutely not. We're doing this. We're gonna lean into it. I want you to remember that creaky rocking chair for the rest of the evening.
No.
Well, maybe I'm the reason you need a minute this week.
All right, go follow us on Instagram and
We're working
Facebook.
on getting a Patreon set up too, so Chelsea can tell us some fun stories.
Well, it's set
Or
up.
we're working on figuring out what we want to do with it.
Yeah, but there is a Patreon. And that was Mom Needs a Minute.
Yep.